You are listening to Forged Among Stars, a solo RPG actual play podcast presented by DiceGeeks.com. Welcome. My name is Matt Davids. I will be your game master and only player during this season of Forged Among Stars. I am a tabletop RPG writer, game designer, as well as a novelist. I thank you so much for joining me as I play through Ironsworn Starforged, a tabletop RPG designed by Shawn Tomkin. If you would like to learn more about me or the game, please check for links in the description wherever you are listening to this podcast. Now, it is time to journey among the stars. Hawking Duval stands on an earthen ridge. The ravaged landscape of a jungle destroyed by a massive earthquake opens up before him. Giant trees have tumbled to the ground. The mass of green and broken wood spreads out before him. Behind him, the flower iris of the precursor vault closes in on itself. He looks and sees the great arcing energy searching for its collapsed tower, igniting the broken trees in orange and blue flame. Fortunately, that is some distance away from him, but he knows he can't stay here. And he looked with hope to see his ship, the Shard of the Sun, but it was gone. He has been racked with pain, injured, disheartened, and not seeing his ship, and not understanding what this could be. Did Echo betray him? Did she steal his ship? Or did the earthquake destroy it somehow? Was she forced to flee because somebody attacked? He just didn't know. Hawking's mind races, and it's too much for him. The exhaustion, no sleep for what seems like days, but it was only a night. Hawking Duval collapses with exhaustion. Now, I don't know if there are any rules for this, but it just seems like, to be fair, even though I've placed the game on easy, I think this is an overwhelming moment for Hawking Duval. And I am going to reduce his spirit from 2 to 1, and then I am going to reduce his health from 1 to 0. Now, as I've been mentioning, I still don't know this game very well because, believe it or not, I am recording these sessions very quickly, and I am still reading the PDF and getting an understanding of how to play Starforged. So I am going to check the rules really quickly and see what it means when you drop to 0 health. All right, I've checked the rules, I think, but I'm not sure. At 0 health, I need to endure harm, which is a move in game terms. So, I will endure harm, although I'm not sure what the mechanical kind of restrictions are on having 0 health. I'm still reading. I'm still learning the game. This is the point of even, or at least half the point of even recording this podcast, so I can learn the game and understand it. Because I hope to play this in a co-op session with my gaming group, which would be amazing. So I'm going to endure harm. And this is very dangerous because Hawking Duval could die here. And we would have maybe an ending to the season or the show. We will see. So I'm going to roll endure harm. It says either health or iron, whichever's higher. Obviously, I have no health, so it is going to be iron. But this does not improve my chances very well because my iron is only 2. Because Hawking Duval, he leads with his heart, and he then relies on his agility and wits. So iron and shadow are low. So here we go. Endure harm, rolling plus iron. Okay, well, we got a weak hit, and it says that I can -1 momentum in exchange for 1 health, or just press on. My momentum is only at 3, which is above my reset value. Just only 1 above my reset value. My health is at 0. So I think I'm going to take that deal. I'm going to -1 momentum and give myself 1 health back. So Hawking Duval has collapsed, and this kind of apocalyptic scene is all around him. And he, just through the force of will, just pulls himself back up to his feet and looks down at the road that he followed here to the precursor vault, now covered in trees and branches all along the route, but he can basically see kind of where the outline of that road had been. And he can see the spot now, because all of the trees have fallen and into great piles. He can see that the shard of the sun is gone. He starts to steel himself and to get ready for an expedition back to the landing site so he can determine the fate of the shard of the sun. And as he gets ready, he adjusts his coat and his gear and kind of the makeshift bandage that he tied around his wounded leg. And he takes a deep breath, and then he hears it. A sound from above. He pulls his goggles back down over his eyes, and he looks straight up. And there, out of the sun, dropping towards him from the sky, is the shard of the sun. It lowers and lowers, slowly, 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 closer and closer. And Hawking Duval can't help but to smile. Okay, so we're going to cut a little bit here, just behind the curtain a bit. I just didn't want to keep rolling make expedition. So the shard of the sun lowers down, and Hawking Duval gets on board, but we're going to kind of cut through that. And this would be, if we were watching a TV show or a movie, this would be a cut, kind of an emotional high here, just Hawking smiling as the ship is lowering to him. We're going to cut to Hawking Duval back on board his starship, the Shard of the Sun, with his newfound companion, Echo Carr, a.k.a. Dancer, at the controls. So how I picture this is that Hawking Duval is like laying in his bunk, and Echo has hooked him up to some medical equipment, perhaps just, not a lot that they have on the ship, but just a little bit of things. She's cleaned and bandaged his leg, and he's trying to get some fluids in his body that is racked with pain and injury. So I think this is a time for a couple more moves. I think this is going to be heal. I will check the rules on that and see about rolling it. Okay, well, this is good news. Since Echo is a companion, I think, since she's a companion, right? She's a bonded friend. Is that a companion, or is that different from the assets which are called companions? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to consider that she is a companion and that Hawking gets to roll this move plus heart, because that is Hawking's best, his best stat. It is at a 4, because remember, we set this game kind of on easy because I'm still learning the rules. So he has a 4 heart, and I'm going to roll. And there we go. We got a strong hit. So this is very, very, very good for Hawking Duval, because he gets +3 health. So Echo is, she bandages his leg. She helps him get some fluids in his body. I don't know, there were some other injuries like scrapes and bumps and bruises, and she helps treat those wounds as well. So he recovers quite well. But I do think this takes some time. I think this takes probably like 24 hours. And in this time, the Shard of the Sun is just like in a low orbit around the planet Keladon. So this takes Hawking's health from a 1 to a 4, so he is feeling much, much better. So I'm going to say this is like 24 hours, maybe 48 hours even, kind of later after Echo picked him up. He's feeling much better, at least physically. And so I'm going to say that like Echo is sitting in the little mess or galley, I guess it would be called on a ship, and imagining kind of, the Millennium Falcon kind of look where you have a little table and a little workstation and probably an extra bunk above the table, just like in the Millennium Falcon, something like that. And Echo is sitting in there rubbing nutrient paste on some type of cracker, and she's eating that at the table, and in walks Hawking, and he is feeling much better physically. However, his spirit is still low. So he sits down at the table, and Echo says, "You need something to eat." He nods. Yeah, I guess I should get something. So he picks up the nutrient paste container and spoons a little out onto some wafers, munches down on it. And they sit there at the table, and I think they're going to share a moment. I think 2 things are going to happen. I'm going to develop the relationship, and I am also going to roll Hearten to see if I can improve some of Hawking's spirits. Actually, I think it is Sojourn. I think the move is Sojourn because we are staying here. Is this a community with 2 people? Is that a community? Yeah, I'm going to say that is. So I'm going to make the Sojourn move because we've already said we've stayed here at least 48 hours while he was recovering. And so this could kind of just be wrapped all into that. So we're going to roll Sojourn. All right, we got a strong hit because heart is Hawking's strong point. So checking the rules here, I get to just make an automatic hearten with a strong hit. And because it was part of Sojourn, it gets a +1. So that means Hawking Duval gets +3 to his spirit. So his spirit goes from 1 to 4. Now I could pick another recover move, because that is a feature of Sojourn. And also, I'm going to say this takes several more days, right? So we already said there was 2 days. Well, this is going to take a few more days. And if I take heal, that would push me to 5 health. If I take hearten, that would push me to 5 spirit. It says you could resupply, but I don't think that makes much sense because I don't know where I would resupply at. Then it says I could repair. Now, I did say that his scanner device was damaged, but this scanner device was, more of incidental object, really, and it doesn't have integrity or anything. Sojourn is providing some major mechanical benefits, but if I take one of the other ones, I'll go to max on health and spirit, which would be good. Or do I repair that device? And I just use this move and say that the device is repaired. Or I could just wave my hand and say he repairs it later because it was just a roll on a table. No, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think it should cost me something. So I'm going to say that Hawking Duval in this time repairs his scanner / pad / little computer that he wears on his hip. And that takes this move from Sojourn. And so that communication device is repaired. Because it gives you 3 points. Well, I haven't assigned an integrity to that device, but we're just going to say it is repaired. And that Hawking Duval is feeling pretty well. He is feeling good, and he has been resting and recuperating and strengthening his bond with Echo Carr. So I am going to roll develop the relationship. They already have a bond, and I'm going to look at the rules a little bit more to see what exactly makes sense here. So I think if I'm understanding this right, I roll against her rank, which was 9. We've already developed the relationship a couple times, so now the marks on her progress bar were 9 when we formed the bond. That's what I'm saying. Poorly and unartfully. We've already done that before, so her level then would have moved up to dangerous, because this gives us just some benefits for ticks on our bond's legacy, depending on that, because her first rank was troublesome. So now it's dangerous. Now I'm going to roll again against 9 to see if it goes higher. If I get a strong hit, it goes up to formidable. Is that right? Okay, I think that's what this is saying. So I'm going to roll against a 9. Oh no, the rank doesn't change unless I roll a strong hit with a match. Gotcha. Okay, so it is still troublesome, which means I'll get fewer ticks, but it's still really good. And then, so I am still rolling with a 9, I believe. Well. I rolled a strong hit with a match. I rolled 2 6s on the challenge dice. So obviously 9 is higher than that, and I get a match. So I do get to move her rank up to dangerous, which will help me fill in my bond's legacy track faster if I keep developing this relationship with Echo Carr. I think that's what it means. Now I'm also to envision why it's changed and why it's bolstered. So I will do that in a second, but I'm going to make some notes here on my character sheet real fast. So how I envision this going down is that over this week, or 7 days, 9-day period where Hawking is recovering and repairing his little communication device pad that he wears on his hip, that him and Echo share a number of moments, eating together, talking together, him explaining what happened in the vault, telling her the stories of it. And they have grown closer, and their relationship is bolstered. So let's kind of go back, though. They were sitting at the table eating nutrient paste, kind of rubbing this nutrient paste on some little wafer things, and maybe sharing, I don't know, some kind of synthetic orange juice, or maybe some kind of tea. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe some kind of tea that is popular, and they're drinking that, and they're sharing a moment. And Hawking just opens up to Echo, and he says, "Echo, thank you so much. I would have never made it out. I don't think I could have trudged through the jungle anymore to reach the ship." She kind of takes a bite of her wafer and then looks up, says, "Don't worry about it." He says, "No, I thank you. I mean it." He kind of reaches his hand down and he touches the golden sun symbol that she pinned on his coat. And he says, "Thank you for giving this to me. I told you I'd bring it back." He unpins it and he starts to hand it back. And then he realizes something, that the gold on the front is kind of chipped off a little bit. And it looks like it reveals a bit of iron. He turns it over in his hand, and the backside is definitely iron. He feels it with his fingers. He knows that feeling. Everyone in the forge knows that feeling. He looks up at her, and he says, "This is your token. This is part of the Exodus ships. This is your swear iron." Is it called swear iron? I don't know. I just made that. She looks at him, takes a sip of her tea, nods, and he's just like, "You gave me your token." He's just kind of overwhelmed with emotion, because that is a very solemn bond between two people. Then he looks down and he kind of instinctively reaches around his neck, but the chain is gone. And he is reminded of the pain of losing his swear iron that had been passed down for hundreds of years in his family. And he says, "Well, I've lost mine, but here's yours back." And he goes to hand this sun symbol that has been either painted or kind of gold-leafed back to Echo. And she just touches his hand and then pushes it back towards him. And then she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a matching symbol. And she says, "My mother gave me 2." And Hawking just kind of smiles. "Very well." And he clips it back on to his coat over his heart. All right, so that is how their relationship develops here. And there is something else that has to be done, because Hawking Duval has got 8 progress on Explore the Caledon Precursor Vault Iron Vow that he made. So we are going to fulfill that vow and hopefully not destroy ourselves. And then I was also able to mark 1 mark here on our bonds. So I almost have a full box, 1 full box. I need 1 more tick mark to have a full box on discoveries. And on bonds. On discoveries, I have 2 full boxes and a half a box. So I think I get to spend experience points. But first, we are going to fulfill our Iron Vow to explore this precursor vault. And hopefully I won't miss. And we got a strong hit. This is a nice way to cap this off. So I get to, since it was extreme, I get to mark 2 full boxes on the Quest's legacy track. Now this is kind of extraordinary because I was able to mark 2 full boxes on discoveries, and I have 2 full boxes on quests. So that means I have 8 experience points to spend. Woo! This is exciting. So what you do here is you can upgrade an existing asset by spending 2 points, or you can buy a new asset by spending 3 points. So I think we are going to get equipped. I am going to check over these rules really fast and see what we got going here. Okay, so here is what's going to happen. I have looked over the rules about advancing. I do have 8 points to spend, which is awesome. However, I think for story, we need to go someplace. But first, I get to mark 1 tick on my background vow, which is the first tick, because this is gain secret knowledge or ancient knowledge to build a new clan. I get 1 tick. I have a very, very long way to go. I think it only makes sense that we go somewhere else, because there are some things that Hawking Duval needs to do. So one day, after they're recovered, Hawking looks at Echo and he says, "Echo, I think it is time that we moved on. We need some more supplies. I need more supplies if we are going to continue on our mission." Echo looks at him. "Our mission?" He smiles. "Well, I had hoped you would stay with me. But we need to go someplace. Resupply." She looks at him. "Okay. And by the way, I haven't decided if I'm going to stay yet." Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Forged Among Stars. Please consider subscribing to the podcast wherever you are listening to it so you never miss an episode. Another episode will be out soon, but until then, I will see you among the stars.